Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, and today we're going to jump right in with the bactrosaurus. Bactra? Close enough. So the bactrosaurus is a, what are we doing? Hadrosaur month. That made no sense. The bactrosaurus is a hadrosaur. Because we're doing hadrosaur month, it's more of an edmontosaur, but that's like a what would you call it? Like a subspecies, I guess. Whatever's below that, or the family. So, Bactrosaurus. Here's that bad boy. Of course, you can tell it's a hadrosaur. It's got the big old hadrosaur body, the big old thick tail that kind of comes down. It's got a duck bill, like pretty much all hadrosaurs do. It's got the big old legs, and it's got the front two legs that it puts on the ground. It runs on all fours, or no, it runs on two legs and walks on all fours. So that's the Bactrosaur. So I sadly could not find what a Bactrosaur sounded like. So that makes me a little bit sad because I was really hoping I could find something on that. So here's what it looks like. There, I'm going to show that again. Leave that there for a little bit. So let's get into some measurements of this proud hadrosaur. It gets about 20 feet long, and it weighs about 1.5 tons, and it get about like 8 feet tall at max. Its diet is like bushes, berries, ferns, vines, and like any other type of like plant thing that it could get its like mouth on, its duckbill on. So its fossils were found in North America in 1933 by Charles W. Gilmore, who named the new animal Bactrosaur or club lizard in reference to the large club-shaped neural spine projecting from its back. It's a medium herbivore, or in this case, it's a hadrosaur. Not all medium herbivores are hadrosaurs. It lived in herds of like 7 to 12. It lived in forests, jungles, river valleys, etc., etc. Strong back legs for running, and walked on all fours, and it had the giant club thing on the back. It lived in the early Cretaceous. Oh, no, sorry. 70 million years ago, which is late Cretaceous. So that is here in the Maastrichtian era. Maastrichtian. Which is actually the late Cretaceous, which is my bad. As I said, this thing is kind of like... Oh, and its fossils were found in Asia. I forgot to mention that. It's a hadrosaurid, but it's a lot more similar to Edmontosaur than like Parasaurolophus. The first Bactrosaurus remains were recovered from the Gobi's Desert in China. Were composed of partial skeletons of 6 individuals. Evidence of tumors, including hemangiomas, desmoplastic fibrom, a metastastic cancer, and osteoblastoma was discovered in fossils of bactrosaurus skeletons. So these things actually had like cancer and stuff, which is pretty crazy. There have been more than like 10,000 fossils were examined of this, of these dinosaurs, which is pretty crazy. No complete remains have yet to be uncovered of the Bactrosaurus. Is still better known as the most early hadrosaur. Known parts of the anatomy of the Bactrosaurus include the limbs, pelvis, and most of the skull, although the crest is notably absent. So this thing is like an Edmontosaurus in the fact that it doesn't have a crest. So like Parasaurolophus here, it's Anatosaur. Parasaurolophus has the head crest, while Crithosaurus has that. Edmontosaurus doesn't as much. See, its head doesn't come back or super up all crazy like. So that's what they're referring to. So Bactrosaurus is one of the few. I was about to say sauropods, but they're not sauropods. What are these things? Hadrosaurs that does not have a head crest, which is actually pretty cool to think about, in that it's one of the earliest ones. And it actually was roughly the size of like humans, which is, I mean, it was bigger than a human, of course, but still, we don't have to be superstitious about that. So what do I think about the Bactrosaur? I think this thing's pretty cool. I mean, I have a soft spot for all dinosaurs in my heart, of course. But it seems like outside of Parasaurolophus, this would just be like the bare bone generic like plant eater dinosaur, which is kind of weird to think about because, I mean, you have like the crazy thing like Triceratops, it's got its horns, Stegosaurus got its like dagomizers and things like that. Sauropods were like famously massive. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to do Sauropod month next week, just because I want to do that. Or not next week, next month. Sorry, my bad. It'll be because of how scary tall they are, or scary large they are. Haha. But like, I mean, it's one of the earliest whatchamacallits, Parasaurolophus, not Parasaurolophus, Hadrosaurid, which is pretty cool. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's got its own place in the ecosystem, but it's kind of like one of the most bare bone, no pun intended, bare bone dinosaurs, where it's got like, hadrosaurs tend to be the most bare bone, but I still think some of them are cool, and the evolutionary trait of how they sound tends to be what draws them apart. So seeing a hadrosaur that doesn't have the special vocal thing of the crest kind of takes away from it a little bit, but we're not going to talk about that. But what we will talk about is that new intro sometime. But Bactrosaurus is a pretty cool dinosaur. I'm not going to sit here and poo on it because it's got its own place. It's definitely one of the earliest hadrosaurs. That kind of was there. So it's got its own place that exists with it. So I think it's earned its keep. Please ignore the rain and the thunder and the lightning in the background. We're having a storm here, so. But Bactrosaurus is still pretty cool. I think the whole clubbed spine kind of thing is kind of interesting to think about because it's, what did this say? The fossils were discovered in 1933 by Charles W. Gilmore, who named the new animal Bactrosaur or club lizard in reference to the large club neural spine projecting from some of the vertebrae. So this thing, here, I'll pull up the picture again. If you look closely at its back, look at its neck. It's kind of got little like bumps there that come out of its like spine, neck, and back all the way down to its tail. That's actually pretty neato. That's got like an evolutionary trait like that. Honestly, that probably could be so that it probably had like an evolutionary trait where it rolled. I know it sounds really weird, but like it probably had that so that like if a dinosaur was on its back, it could roll and those would like jab into it and like slice them open maybe, or like really cause some damage. Although also if like a massive like 4-ton beast like fell on you, you'd probably get crushed, but that's different. So and also the Irundabis Formation has been dated to the Cenomanian stage around 95.8 to 6.2 million years ago. So this thing could have existed even more long ago. So this thing was like actually fairly old and was one of like the first hadrosaurs. So what I'm reading now is there's no it's 6.2 because that's like really early. But it did just say 95, just around here. So the Cenomanian stage. So around basically the entire late Cretaceous, it was probably around. I'll give you that. So it definitely was doing something right because it lasted for quite some time, and it was obviously it chose to evolve the way it did and then continue evolving for some reason because apparently whatever it was doing to survive was really working out because you got all these other, I keep wanting to call them sauropods. Why do I want to call them sauropods? Hadrosaurs that are doing the same thing that this bad boy was kind of doing, which is kind of interesting. Again, there's going to be an episode on some sort of history of hadrosaurs and why they like chose to evolve to have crests and all that. It's probably going to be a shorter episode because it's not going to be much on that. Or maybe there will be a lot on that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when that episode comes out. Well, this has been Bactrosaur. I'm your host, Eric Crawford. And I will see you all next time. Not just yet. Hang on. Remember to follow on Instagram. And remember to subscribe to YouTube for early episode access. I say early access as in like I'm just as soon as I'm done like. So the way I usually post is I set it for like it's scheduled to upload. Sometimes that doesn't always work and I have to upload it later because technology. But the way I do it on YouTube is I just, as soon as it's done uploading, it's up and out on the web. So please go subscribe for that. Subscribe to that to see some early access to episodes. And now we have a website. Go check out the website. Yeah, that's right. We got the Prehistoric Life podcast website, the official Prehistoric Life podcast website. So please go check that out. It's just look up prehistoriclifepodcast.com and go check out the website. That and all content will be there. From there, you can get to the YouTube, you can get to the Instagram, plus the videos and episodes will all be posted there. And eventually, whenever I get stickers and stuff, and the website will be updated rapidly. I say rapidly, but probably as often as the episodes come out. I'll eventually try to get Instagram embedded in it so that you guys can look at that too. And eventually, whenever I get things like merch, I guess what you'd call it. So stickers, pins, hoodies, shirts, probably notebooks. Whenever we get those will be in there too. So when we don't have those yet. So please go check that out. That is really awesome. Thank you to my father for making that. So please go look at that. You can find everything on there. Well, I'm your host, Eric Crawford. Thank you for watching Prehistoric Life Podcast. Tune in next time for some more dinosaur knowledge. Keep it prehistoric.